Hey, what's going on, you guys? And welcome to my channel where we examine the theology of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints through Christian lenses. Today, we're going to be talking about the fruit of the prophet Joseph Smith. In the past, when meeting missionaries, I've brought up things like Joseph Smith's arrest records, the sketchy things that he's done in his past that might hurt his credibility as a prophet. Their responses to me were that he just wasn't a perfect person and that there was something of a smear campaign against him his whole time in ministry to stop him from doing what God wanted him to do. The consensus that many Latter-day Saints arrive at is that they can trust Joseph Smith as a prophet because of the fruit that he bore throughout his ministry. They simply say that because Joseph Smith was producing good fruit, and this entire church came from Joseph Smith, and it's so successful, and all of the works that Joseph Smith did were good, that he must have been a good tree. What I plan to do with this video is show you that it was bad fruit from the beginning. And just for fun, I'm going to use LDS sources to prove my points like I do in all of my other videos. For historical facts that are just not present in Latter-day Saints websites, I'm going to look at things like courtroom documents and quotes from Joseph Smith, his followers, and other eyewitnesses. If Mormonism is actually true, I want to be a Mormon, and just like you, I'm seeking to know Christ deeper every single day. But as Christians, we just need to put on our discernment glasses and look at the foundation of this entire movement, because Mormonism makes some pretty steep claims. And that foundation is that of its founder, Joseph Smith. In this video, I'm going to rapid fire historical facts at you, and I'm going to put slides up from all of my sources about what I'm talking about. As the video goes on, I encourage you to pause the video and check them out. If you'd like to check out these sources for yourself, just check the description. I'll put all the links I use there. All right, let's go. Disorderly person, March 1826. Joseph Smith was hired by Josiah Stowell of South Bainbridge to help him find an old Spanish silver mine. Joseph did this by looking through a seer stone to divine where the hidden treasure was buried underground. Josiah's nephew accused Joseph of scamming his uncle and was brought to the courts. Joseph was charged with being a disorderly person and being a glass looker or diviner using occult objects. Disorderly person, June 1830. Joseph Smith is again charged 3 years later for being a disorderly person by Martin Harris's wife for defrauding her husband with lies of having ever had the golden plates in the first place. Multiple charges for illegal banking and banking fraud, Ohio, 1831 to 1838. Joseph and other church leaders founded the Kirtland Safety Society Bank in Kirtland, Ohio, in an attempt to boost the economy. Joseph used the Old Testament scriptures to manipulate Latter-day Saints to invest their own money in the project. The bank ran an internal circulation of their own printed currency that worked almost like IOUs. They effectively printed fake money. Dale W. Adams wrote in BYU Studies Quarterly, an academic journal published by BYU, that Samuel D. Round swore a writ against them, and they were charged with running an illegal bank and issuing unauthorized bank paper. They were arrested 7 times in a 4-month span and found guilty. Each were charged $1,000. Joseph and other Latter-day Saints fled Kirtland, Ohio, and went to Missouri. Conspiracy to murder Grandison Newell, June 1837. Joseph Smith was charged with conspiring to murder Grandison Newell, an enemy of the Kirtland Safety Society Bank, who was very outspoken in his opposition to the prophet. What churchofjesuschrist.org won't tell you is that according to Grandison, Joseph conspired with Solomon Denton to murder Newell. This is a court transcript from the Painesville Telegraph, published Friday, June 16, 1837. During the trial, Denton is questioned and confesses that Joseph Smith had incited him to murder Grandison with pistols, saying that he had injured the society and that it was better for one man to suffer than to have the whole community disturbed, that it was the will of heaven that Newell should be put out of the way. That's some pretty hardcore stuff. Smith was released on a $500 bond. Threatening Judge Adam Black, August 1838. Joseph Smith and other Latter-day Saints made a circuit around Daviess County and went to persuade newly elected Judge Adam Black to sign an agreement of peace to judge justly and without partiality, since he had apparently been known for engaging in anti-Mormon activities. The fact is that it was a little more than simple persuasion, and both Adam Black and William P. Peniston gave a sworn statement about what had transpired. Over 100 Latter-day Saints had threatened him to sign the treaty or be put to death. Warrants were issued for the arrest of both Joseph Smith and Lyman White for the incursion. White had resisted arrest with 100 armed men at his house, and Joseph, when contacted, refused to return to Daviess County to be tried for his crimes. Joseph was released with a $500 bond. Missouri treason case, November 1838 through 1839. The Latter-day Saints went to war with the people of Missouri because of persecution and started burning down buildings and shops. Joseph and his brother Hiram were arrested for treason and for murder. Both escaped from prison and fled to Illinois. Arrested for fleeing Missouri, 1839 to 1843. Between 1839 and 1843, 4 different warrants were issued for Joseph's arrest on grounds of treason. He managed to hide himself and evaded some of them, though he was arrested twice. In 1843, after a trial on the legality of the most recent arrest, he was released. Conspiracy to murder Governor Boggs, 1842. A warrant was issued to Joseph Smith for conspiring to assassinate Missouri Governor Lilburn W. Boggs. Boggs was shot after sending a formal request to the governor of Illinois, demanding Joseph be taken to Missouri to stand trial. Perjury, fornication, and polygamy, May 1844. Joseph Smith was criminally charged for adultery, fornication, and perjury with good and sufficient evidence. Joseph Smith, of course, verbally denied each of these claims. He gave a public statement which said, "What a thing it is for a man to be accused of committing adultery and having 7 wives when I can only find one." He was talking about Emma Smith. According to the court docket, Smith actually didn't fight the charges of adultery and fornication, but only perjury and polygamy. Now, despite this sworn statement that Joseph just said, Joseph had 40 wives. At least 40. Around 40. Joseph was an absolute hypocrite who said one thing in court, but taught polygamy his entire time as prophet. Brigham Young, who succeeded Joseph as prophet, also taught polygamy and boasted a whopping 55 wives. The list of Joseph's confirmed wives are as follows: Emma Hale, Fanny Alger, Lucinda Pendleton Morgan Harris, Louisa Bayman, Zena Diantha Huntington, Presendia Lathrop Huntington, Agnes Moulton Coolbrith, Sylvia Porter Lyon, Mary Elizabeth Rollins Leitner, Patty Bartlett, Morinda Nancy Johnson, Elizabeth Davis, Sarah Marietta Kingsley, Delsena Johnson, Eliza Roxy Snow, Sarah Ann Whitney, Martha McBride, Sarah Babson, Ruth D. Vose, Flora Ann Woodworth, Emily Dow Partridge, Eliza Maria Partridge, Almera Woodward Johnson, Lucy Walker, Sarah Lawrence, Maria Lawrence, Helen Mar Kimball, Hannah Ellie, Elvira Annie Cowles, Rhoda Richards, Desdemona Wadsworth Fulmer, Olive Gray Frost, Mary Ann Frost, Melissa Lott, Nancy Maria Winchester, Fanny Young, Mary Houston, Sarah Scott, Olive Andrews, Jane Tippett, Sophia Sanborn, Phoebe Watrous, Vienna Jacques, Clarissa Reed Haddock, Sarah Ann Fuller, Mary Houston, Cordelia Callista Morley, Nancy Maria Smith, Jane Tibbetts, and Sophia Woodman. If you notice that some wives had the same last names, that's because he sometimes married sisters. The Bible actually explicitly teaches against this in Leviticus chapter 18:18. And you shall not take a woman as a rival wife to her sister, uncovering her nakedness while her sister is still alive. And Joseph's youngest wife was Nancy Maria Winchester. She was 14 years old. For this one, though, I did check multiple sources. I had to consult Wikipedia for a full list of names. Behind every wife, there's a source, and if you want to challenge any credibility to this, just check them out on your own time. I just can't share every single source because there's literally hundreds of sources and hundreds of links from articles, books, and interviews. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints only banned polygamy once laws were made against it. Basically, the notion is that as Christians, we have to obey the country's laws. We can't go against them. If the United States never made laws against polygamy, they'd probably still have it today. Let's go ahead and continue with these accusations. Inciting a riot to destroy the Nauvoo Expositor, June 1844. Joseph, acting as mayor, commanded the militia to destroy the Nauvoo Expositor with sledgehammers and light it on fire. The printing press was comprised of ex-Latter-day Saints who were excommunicated from the church who wanted to expose what Joseph was doing in regards to the practice of plural marriage and Joseph Smith's teachings on the nature of God from his recent King Follett sermon and his mixing of religious and civic authority in Nauvoo. Joseph was arrested alongside his brother Hiram and jailed in Carthage, Illinois for treason, violating freedom of the press. And this is where it gets dicey. After this, a mob of around 100 men stormed the prison and killed Joseph and his brother. This was because the Mormon Council of 50 declared Joseph king over the immediate house of Israel, and they were incensed by the article published by the Nauvoo Expositor regarding Joseph's advocation of polygamy. Latter-day Saints today regard him as a martyr, but that's not exactly the term that I would use. Joseph had a gun smuggled to him in prison, and he was shooting back. It's right there on their website. Biblical martyrdom is being killed for the sake of the name and not fighting back. Jesus Christ, on the night that he was betrayed, condemned Peter for drawing his sword against Malchus and cutting off his ear. Stephen was stoned because he called out the hypocrisy of the leaders of Israel. Peter was crucified. Paul was beheaded. Joseph Smith's death was by gunfight. When Latter-day Saints talk about Joseph's criminal past, what they like to talk about is the imprisonment of the apostles. How many times did Peter go to prison? How many times did Paul go to prison? But just why were the apostles arrested? For the sake of the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth. They were preaching Christ and him crucified and his resurrection. If they ever resisted authority, it was only for the will of the Lord for them to evangelize. Peter said in 1 Peter 2:17, "Honor everyone, love the brotherhood, fear God, honor the emperor." Joseph most definitely did not, as he was arrested for conspiracy to murder, theft, vandalism, killing, lying, divining with occult objects, committing bank fraud, printing his own money, perjury, fornication, adultery, polygamy, destroying private property, and destroying freedom of the press. Joseph Smith was arrested 42 times across 4 different states. Joseph Fielding Smith, the 10th president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, said this in Doctrines of Salvation, Volume 1. He was either a prophet of God, divinely called, properly appointed and commissioned, or he was one of the biggest frauds this world has ever seen. There is no middle ground. Jesus says of false prophets in Matthew chapter 7, 15 through 20, "Beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravenous wolves. You will recognize them by their fruits. Are grapes gathered from thorn bushes, or figs from thistles? So every healthy tree bears good fruit, but the diseased tree bears bad fruit. A healthy tree cannot bear bad fruit, nor can a diseased tree bear good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Thus you will recognize them by their fruits." I urge you today to think about the fruit of the prophet Joseph Smith. If a good tree can't produce bad fruit, he must have not been a good tree. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to me ramble. I greatly appreciate the overwhelming support from everyone for this channel. I just want to ask that if you haven't yet, please like and subscribe to help boost this video in the algorithm to help reach more souls for Jesus Christ. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you again in the next video.